I'm Brandon Clark, a reporter with Shaw Local Media in Dixon. I'm sitting here with Marshall Doane, who's running for Second Ward Alderman in the Rock Falls City Council upcoming elections this April. Marshall, why don't you tell the viewers at home a little about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Marshall Doane. I'm 31 years old. I work for Riverside Logistics, a trucking dispatch company, and I was born and raised in Rock Falls. I live at home with 2 rescue dogs, and I'm excited to get back into city council so I can tap into some city potential and make some positive changes so Rock Falls can be the best that it can be.
So, Marshall, the city is planning on opening their new Love's Travel Center and are expecting, that to generate some additional tax revenue for the city. How do you think that money should be best spent?
So, the increase in utilities and such, that's going to be put into the department reserves. Each department has its own bank account per se. So, water revenue it goes to the water department, electricity goes to electricity, so on and so forth. The water department is going to see some increase in stuff too. It's all city utilities. The electric department will see some increase, but the big one that I foresee increasing, and this is something that was very widely discussed back when I was first on council, was that our motor fuel tax coffers. Now, motor fuel tax is so many cents per dollar in the city of Rock Falls. I think we increased it a while ago. Might not have been we as in myself, it might have been before my time even, but there's regulations from the state on how high you can crank that up, and you can max it out, I think, a dime more than other cities and stuff like that is what it shows up like. But yeah, I mean, that's per gallon for small cars. So same thing for big cars, but you're not just getting 10 gallons of gas to fill up your compact car. This is a travel center. These are going to be big RVs with big fuel tanks. Same thing for, diesel fuel with big semi trucks. And I'm a truck dispatcher, so this is right up my alley. And, I log fuel receipts for IFTA, the tax agreement that we pay for quarterly each year. And I mean, it's thousands and thousands of gallons per quarter that we pay tax on. And I'm excited because this is going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons that there's going to be more tax on going to motor fuel tax, which is specifically for fixing our roads. So this is something that's going to be huge, not just for people stopping by and just coming into Rock Falls to get a quick fuel up off the interstate and then getting back on the interstate and leaving. A, we're getting that money, but B, it gives a chance for people to come in and, oh, hey, I gotta get something to eat, I'm gonna hit Culver's because it's right there too, and then there's a Walmart right there. Oh, hey, I gotta grab a couple things for the RV that we forgot to pack. So this is just gonna be a cash injection into the town, and a very much needed cash injection in that. So I'm excited for it, I really am. And I mean, Love's even does fuel rewards, so now I'm probably gonna end up opening accounts for, the company that I work for, and I could see, the 5 other large companies of, trucking companies in our area, plus the agricultural guys, which is kind of the unsung heroes, the corn and grain haulers. There's a lot of those guys too, so it's not just my company I'm looking out for. There's going to be a lot of fuel sold at Love's, and that's just going to be injected right into the Rock Falls reserves for roads, you name it.
Right. Now, Marshall, your opponent, Brian Snow, has said that the site of the former Micro Industries building should be developed into a redevelopment property that for retail space that would increase tax revenue, or at least generate tax revenue for the city. What is your response to that?
I 100% agree. It's the reality of the situation. It's true that I worked hard to try to save that building. I did try to list it on the National Registry, but ultimately things worked out the way that they did, and what's done is done. There is an empty slate in the heart of our downtown, and the only way that I can see utilizing that space is to create something for downtown, and that is, usable retail spaces. We have a lot of recreational places downtown right now. I'd like to see it maybe a multi-story unit. I'd like to see something that would be retail on the first floor, and then a mixed-use apartments on a second or third floor. Of course, that kind of works right into what I was looking into saving the micro building for. Loft apartments is, something that creates a downtown community, and that means that, one thing someone said to me, which was a really good point, is how do you make somebody care about your downtown? Well, you let them live there, because then the downtown is their backyard, and everybody wants to have a nice space to call their own. And you can easily do that by offering a dozen people a place to live, at least. So first floor retail, it'd be awesome to see someone come in and do anything really. We have Mud and Moo, that's a brand new retail store just across the street on West 2nd there, and they're a boutique. They do purses, all kinds of stuff. They got guys stuff too, but just thinking in coordination with that, it'd be cool to have a men's store someplace I can go to buy some jeans, but it doesn't have to be a boutique or anything like that. It could be anything retail that our community cries out for, something that we're looking for as a community. But right upstairs, second or third floor, could very well easily be an affordable living space for a single mother who's looking for something temporary until she finds a home. Same thing for single guys with, workforce jobs like myself, young professionals that are, not sure if they're going to stay in the area, or the reality of the situation, they don't have much to choose from. This would combat the housing crisis that we see locally. And in that, we have a study that's out there that has declared there were 300 units. And that's not just, studio bedroom. That's entire unit is a living space. So 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, there's 300 units that we are in desperate need of. So I feel like if we could do something with loft apartments on a second or third floor, then that would 100% address both issues in the best possible way. To re-inject downtown, get some utilities from some commercial business on the first floors, but then also, some residential utilities on the second or the third floor, fourth floor even. I don't foresee any skyscrapers downtown Rock Falls, but the message is the same.
So, Marshall, what do you think are the top issues facing the city of Rock Falls, and what do you propose to address those?
So I feel there's kind of 3, and those are the big ones that I see every day. First one is depreciation. So, without proper maintenance, things are only designed to last, if they're concrete, 40, 60 years. So a lot of the infrastructure, sidewalks, curbs, I actually grew up in a neighborhood that didn't have curbs or sidewalks, but, the neighborhoods that do have those now, they're crumbling, much like infrastructure all over the nation. But specifically in Rock Falls, the number one thing, the golden ticket that everybody wants to throw out there that they're going to fix if they're an elected official, or that they're working on right now, the roads, sidewalks. I live next to some disabled handicapped people. They don't have a sidewalk to use. If they're in a wheelchair, this leaves them wheeling down the road, and in a darkly lit neighborhood, it doesn't leave much to the imagination. But it's a high dollar item to fix. There's a lot of a lot of moving parts. Things do get drastically expensive very fast. They're redoing Avenue A in Rock Falls right now, and I mean, if they wanted to do the entire stretch of Avenue A, there's only 2 or 3 city blocks that are left. But when I inquired of that a few years ago, that still leaves, $600,000 just for 3 blocks or so. And granted, that was an estimate, but at the time, we see it every day. Depreciation of infrastructure, depreciation of homes, rental units, buildings downtown, everything, and it's all encompassing, and it's a good way to touch that first issue. But the second one is apathy, and that feeds directly in with the depreciation. And apathy, it just describes the feeling of everyone in town, when we have to live in conditions like this. We have a low voter turnout, and I know some other towns do too, but a lot of people don't think it's going to get any better just because they elect one person. And I completely agree with that. It's hard to get people to come out and put a lot of effort into stuff when, there's not a lot in return to get out of it. And we're not exactly squeezing a rock for water per se, but, when you have a crumbling infrastructure and, your house isn't too shabby, but you don't have the money to do anything about it, it's difficult, and it leads to a mental outlook that's unsatisfactory in a thriving town. And that also leads into the third issue, I believe, is local access to good paying jobs. And, we see it everywhere in Rock Falls. We used to have huge factories that were awesome paying jobs. And unfortunately, they left the area. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to get anything back, and we weren't able to claw anything back, hardly. There's a few more businesses out there, but the top payers now, it doesn't seem like they're in Rock Falls. And I have a lot of people that have asked me, what do we do about that? And it's very tough without working as a governing body to attract big paying jobs or just above par jobs to the area. You can't just wave a magic wand and produce a factory and convince somebody somewhere to open in Rock Falls just because for you it's the right thing to do. I mean, we'd all love to see that, but there's no silver bullet for it. So you have to work and be able to make deals with companies. And I know a lot of those deals come in the forms of tax incentives, tax breaks, and that's the bottom line is the companies will open in your town if you have available space or available room, but what they're really looking for is the capitalism aspect of how much money are they going to save opening up in Rock Falls versus Sterling or Dixon or DeKalb and Sycamore just down the interstate closer to Chicago. So those are 3 that they kind of all feed into each other, and I believe if we have a good angle on 1 or 2 of them, then we could really turn everything around in town.
And if you had to pick just one of those issues, not everything can always be done right. Like you said, you can't wave a magic wand. So if only one of those could be addressed and you had to pick that, which one would it be and why?
Depreciation. And that's because I feel if we could have an appearance of a town that is a blank slate, perfect and ready to move into, there's no blight, there's no crumbling infrastructure, the roads are perfectly paved. These things matter to people, and we see that today too, in that some of the empty buildings downtown, it's hard to get a company to move into one of those because unfortunately the reality of the situation is if you have them tour the area, across the street there's not much, and across the street the other way there's not much either.